come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessings, blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today, day. Success. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of the Village Talk Show, where it's all about the community. We are dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing their dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. Knowing, thank you everyone for listening. We're out there on Facebook at John L. Sampson, Roderick F. Daly, Joanne Bryant, Andre Dolman, and Sophia Willisey Radio for Jamaica, Florida, and the Bronx. We out there. You can listen to us on YouTube at The Village Talk Show, on Facebook at The Village Talk Show, Empowering the Village, and 92.1 FM GD Radio. Any information, any question, do reach out. villageshow30@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us on the air and you don't have your computer next to you, you could always do it on the phone. 515-605-5349. And again, God bless. And this is the final show for 2021. Dr. Bryant, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing.
How are you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm over the COVID. It's kind of cool to be over COVID. Oh my God, COVID is like stressful, man. Stressful for a lot of people. How are you doing, John?
I am blessed, highly favored, and looking forward to a new year that hopefully will be not COVID free, but being able to just live life, deal with COVID as it's supposed to be dealt with, and just move forward. So that's what I'm looking for.
Touching on the topic of COVID, I think that COVID this year is the most talked about thing, right? The most talked about thing for 2020 to 2021.
I would agree.
And I look forward to a new topic besides COVID for 2022.
All right. Well, that ain't gonna happen. All right. Come February, we're gonna hear about a new variant. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't care what Dr. Bryant says. I'm very thankful I took the vaccine, dog, because yeah, I caught COVID, and yes, I was home quarantined for 8 days. All right, I finally went outside today
Mm.
to get my COVID test to get that negative, right, the negative COVID test. And then, but I am 100% certain that taking those vaccines was instrumental in me not having any major effect.
So let me ask you, why did you have to bring my name up when you said you don't care what I had to say? I didn't say anything. It's your choice.
I'm just making sure that I prepare myself because you're the anti-vaxxer in the group.
No. Don't classify me as an anti-vaxxer. Please do not do that. I never said that. I just, have some reservations. That's all.
Oh,
Having
come
some
here,
reservation does not make me an
come say hi
anti-vax.
to the world.
Let's
Come say
be
hello.
clear about that.
Come here, come say hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell her to come say hi.
Yes, please.
Yeah, come say hi. Come on, sexy. Come on, you sexy girl. Come here, sexy. 30 years of sexiness. So what? Come here, sexy. Sexy don't want. Come say hi, sexy. Come here. Come. She's like, I'm in my show. She want to come.
All right, maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. So here, a couple of topics out there. One, let's start off with the bad, right? Let's start off with the bad. We lost in this week alone. Well, this week alone, we lost 3 great icons in different aspects of world culture.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Reid. He was former head of Senate, the same role that, for those of you who are not familiar with politics, the same position that Chuck Schumer is currently in as the head of the Senate. Reid was the head. He was there as the head under George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe a very short time under
President
no, that other president, number 45. What's his name? Oh, Donald Trump. So he was also there under Donald Trump. And it's funny because they were doing a recap, and unfortunately, by the way, he died of the pancreatic cancer. What was good was that he had it for 4 years, and he was able to sustain. He died at 82 this year. He actually apologized to George Bush.
Why?
Right? He apologized to George Bush after Donald Trump. He apologized because he couldn't believe there was somebody that George Bush was a great president.
I like George Bush as a president. I don't care what anybody. I love him. He kept me laughing all the time.
I didn't like the fact that he did a terrible photo operating the book upside down. I didn't like that. But what was good about George Bush, he surrounded himself by smart people.
That
Donald Trump felt like he was always the smartest man in the room. We also lost Reid was a senator from out of Nevada, which was a very important state in 2020 election for that Joseph Biden was able to carry. We also lost
Desmond Tutu.
Desmond Tutu, he was a fighter against apartheid, right? From South Africa. He was Archbishop.
He was a fighter against all injustices.
Everything. Yeah. What was interesting, which I didn't know as I was reviewing his history. Every time I think of an archbishop, I think of a single man, but he was married with 4 children. He got married in 1955. Right, 1955. That's right. That's a long time. That's close to before my mother was born. That's a long time, boy. I'm telling you. kudos to longevity. And then they say people can't stay married long. My parents have been married for 42 years. So
My parents been married for 45.
that
Yeah.
there you go. So much for people not talking about that people don't, people can't sustain long-term marriages. And
Well,
Harry,
I'm gonna battle you with that back and forth. It depends on the mindset. Back in the days, it was totally different. Nowadays, it's a different view, different perspective, and also there's more option and more things out there to get you distracted.
what do you mean by options? What, more options for wives? What are you talking about?
Just more options. There was no social media that would get you in trouble. There's no dating app that would get you in trouble. There's so many different
Why would,
options.
first of all, if you're married, why are you on the dating app?
There's plenty of people who do it. I'm not
John,
saying that.
John, if you're married, why are you on the
You,
dating app?
what you
If you're
said?
married, why you be on the dating app? She said that they're dating apps. I'm like, why would you be married
You
on
could
a
be
dating
doing
app?
research. You could be doing research.
Research on what life used to be, right?
The efficacy of the dating app.
I speaking about relationship just a little bit. I was talking to a friend today, married friend. He's married. He's been married for a very long time, and I was talking to him. I have a few, I try to surround myself now with more married people than single people.
That's great.
And what happened is that he's like the chase is like it's even though you're married, the chase is important because it shows that you still got it. Do you agree with that?
No, 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 no. Repeat what you just said.
Like the chase, the look, like when you travel and a woman or a man looks
Mm-hmm.
at you in a way that says, "Hey, you're interested."
Mm-hmm.
That is important.
And that is the beginning of the downfall. That is the
That
beginning.
is that is lust.
Yes,
Lust.
that's the
Lust.
beginning of
Lust
the
in his
downfall.
heart.
Yes, that is the
That
beginning
doesn't, it's
of
funny
lust.
because I always say to myself, right? Well, not to myself. I say it all the time out loud that I'm not upset if a guy try to talk to my wife. I'm never upset about that. If
Okay.
my wife says this guy looks good or that guy looks good, or I don't get upset.
You
I
have
see a
trust.
good guy, I'm sure. Listen, I see a good looking woman, and my wife, she knows. Show me, because I'm gonna look, because I'm not hiding it.
Okay. Right.
Because in my life, I've never dated somebody that somebody else didn't want to date. So I'm not blind and neither, and that's what I hate about. Oh, you pretend like no, stop pretending like you don't see that my wife has a fat booty. I know it. It is what it is. Is what you say, um, is what you say, and your reaction to things. I think that makes a difference. But stop pretending,
Mm.
right?
Well,
We
I
forgot
do agree with you in regards to that. I think it allows for open communication, honesty, and everything.
yeah,
Being transparent. Once you are that open with your spouse, then less trouble comes about. Hey, you have to be honest to say,
yeah.
hey,
You know, we're gonna have to hold off on that because we're gonna make that another topic. We're just saying, I went off on a tangent because I
yes,
was just thinking sometimes relationships are important on what conversations you have. The other thing, because we're talking about the long-term marriage, the other person that we lost this week is John Madden, um, Hall of Fame broadcaster, Hall of Fame football coach, and I don't know if you played it, John, when you were a kid. John Madden football. Did you
No,
play it? You didn't play it?
no.
Did you play it, John?
He was the
John.
architect of that game.
no,
Yeah,
no,
John Madden. He's known for his Los Angeles Raiders. He was one of the youngest coaches in the NFL. I believe he was 31. And at that time,
32. 32.
yeah, at that time, to be that age and to be the head coach of an NFL team, right? So, and he stopped coaching. He was there for about 11 to 12 seasons and stopped coaching in his early 40s. And you say for the next 40 years, he became a broadcaster and the game, and he has outpaced, outperformed so many people, and it was like a great thing. So losing these three people, world of politics is Reid, the world of also Desmond Tutu won the Nobel Peace Prize,
Right.
actually,
Yes.
as well. So let's not forget that, out of South Africa. So our condolences go out to their family, to the community, on the international front, as well. So that was kind of crazy, but I'm glad to see like all of them had long marriages. But we definitely need to talk about because you know what, we can all learn, right? We can all learn from them, right? And his contribution to society. Um, COVID. COVID is a big thing, right? The World Health Organization said that the number of COVID cases recorded worldwide increased by 11% last week, right? Compared to the previous week. So, and the thing about this Omicron, now that I just got it, you really think it's a common cold. So it
Right.
started last week with like a dry cough, and then a little sneezing, and all of a sudden, boom, take a COVID test. New York City have 21,000 new COVID cases. New York City had a 10.2%, 10.2%, what is it called? What's the rate they call it? Positivity rate, last week, right? So, and the big thing now is that the government wants you to go back to work. So they cut down from 10 days of
Quarantine.
quarantine to 5. What do you think about that? What do you guys think about that?
I think that's dangerous
Why?
because by the time someone realized that they're sick, they already infested everyone. Just the recovery time of everything they say don't do, they go back to repeat to say, hey, you know what? Just like the mask, you can take it off. It's safe once you get vaccinated. And then they rewind and say, hey, no, put it back on again. So
I don't know if it's you're making it so cut and dry. They always recommend that you wear your mask. They've always recommended that. But
this week I was hearing in regards to the 5 days, even when they were mentioning the 5 days cut down. Oh, once you have the 5 days cut down, they didn't even mention a mandatory mask or putting the mask or anything like that.
That's not what I heard. I heard 5 days quarantine, but then you still wear your mask for the next 5 days.
I didn't hear that.
Right? You still wear
That's
the
what I
mask.
heard.
Right?
Roderick,
So
that's what I heard. What Roderick heard.
That's right. You're anti-vaccine, so you just want to say that.
I'm not anti. Stop saying that, Roderick. If I could come through the screen, I'll reach out and touch you.
Yeah,
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. One of the side effects, guys, is that hospitals, my friend is complaining that the side effects of the COVID is that hospitals are out of staff. And then what's going to go on with school? What do you guys think what's going to happen?
Well, we were
remote.
No, it's not remote. They're going right back on Monday, and they're going to give take-home tests.
Remote.
The concern with the take-home tests that they're given to kids to do, some parents might give it to the kids to administer themselves. So how accurate can that be?
Because you do have lazy parents. I have to tell the truth.
How accurate will that be? I'm
Again,
looking at it as a danger zone. Hey, if someone is not administering that and a child go and poke themselves, so that's what I'm thinking about. Hey, you're giving this to kids to go home to administer to kids to take home to their parents.
They're supposed to give them to their parents, but you don't have.
Oh, how are they doing that?
Yeah, but I'm saying if you give it to the parents, but then again, who do I say always is the most important person in education?
Always, huh?
I always say that, and people keep saying, giving the backlash. Parents.
But how are the parents getting the take home?
Well, forget that, Joe.
Mhm.
The take-home test is inaccurate.
Of course, it is.
So on top of not being able to administer it properly, like you were saying, whatever the proper is, ladies and gentlemen, the take-home test is very inaccurate.
Mhm. Many people test positive. Their PCR shows
And negative.
negative. So, which
So,
one is it?
right,
So you're like,
it's going crazy. Um, but for all of us, all of you listening out there on our channels, the Board of Ed is recommending that all children please test your child before you go back to school.
okay, wait, I gotta stop there. That would be great if you don't have to stand online for 6 hours or 7 hours. So last week I spent how many hours? Oh my god, 4 hours online on Friday, and it was freezing. I ended up getting sick. Just waiting to get tested. And
You see my hand?
I don't know what you're talking about because my PCR came out negative. So, I don't know what your problem is.
Oh,
And
you
then
back in the
top it
80s,
off,
that's what we used to do
to
with
top
when
it
we
off,
were in school.
today waiting online from 7 something to 11 something and still having another 2 more hours to wait. I was like, forget it. I'm not doing it. How many parents do you think are actually going to go and spend 6 hours plus on a line? And to top it off,
by the way, I spent less than an hour.
yeah. But to top it off, it depends on where you go to.
I'm not telling anybody where I went.
Of
Because
course.
right, for less than an hour, because if I tell anybody where I went, when I get there, the line might just be long.
Yeah. And then the quality is not the same in different areas. It's not.
Emily.
It's
So
not.
if you guys want to know, you're gonna have to call me up. I'll let you know.
One of my girlfriends mentioned she went to Long Island today. They gave her 3 different options for her kids to choose. Do you want a PCR within an hour? Do you want this within an hour? Do you want that within an hour? We'll have the rapid ready in 30 minutes. Totally different. You come to Brooklyn, totally
But
different.
I was in Brooklyn, so I took my test in Brooklyn. So it's not every part of Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the village. Welcome, all of you. Whatever channel that you're using to watch us, we appreciate it. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we're asking you to share, right? Not just watch, but also share on your outlet to help the program grow. So I think that's a problem. They have to open up more mobile sites, more sites in different communities. That's definitely a real issue, Dr. Bryant. It's a real
And
issue.
to top it off, it was really sad to see how many young people were on the line at 6:30, still half asleep. You have 3-year-olds, you have 5-year-olds standing on the line, and still couldn't get seen. Poor babies need sleep.
It's not that they
Who?
couldn't get it. It's just that the wait is ridiculous. The
Yeah.
wait is really.
Do you think all New York City parents, are going to go out and do that? Absolutely not.
Do all New York City parents help their kids with their homework?
No.
Okay, all right. Do all New York City parents go to parent-teacher conference?
Absolutely, positively, no.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. There was that superintendent. I was reading the comment on the screen from remembering the guy, the superintendent out there who got COVID, right? And he died because of the wait. So he waited for. They kept him in a small facility, but here's one caveat to that argument, though, right? He had sepsis. He couldn't go to the hospital, the main hospital, and the parents are upset because so many people are unvaccinated and get hospitalized and they'll fill up the hospital beds. Some people say that if you choose not to be vaccinated, then you should be last on the list to go to the hospital. What's your thoughts on that?
I disagree.
John?
I agree.
Why you agree?
I kind of agree, though. I kind of do agree.
Why you agree?
Who, me or John?
John, why you agree?
I just agree, just to be the opposite of you, Dr. Bryant.
Get on my nerve. You get on my nerve.
I'm going to tell you
That's
why.
what we're supposed to do on the village.
Right? I'm going to tell you why, Jack, why I agree. You made a conscious decision to say that the COVID is not real, and you have all of these concoctions that you can use.
No. I don't want you to put an assumption into people.
I'm telling you.
No. You're saying.
I'm saying why I agree. Right? COVID ain't real. The vaccine ain't real. Right? It's the
That's
devil.
your conspiracy theory. That's your own conspiracy theory.
Right? And so therefore, I ain't putting nothing in my body. So my body has natural immunity to fight off COVID. So therefore, make your body naturally fight off the COVID because you don't want the vaccine. So stay home.
Here's the thing. The vaccine was so-called supposed to protect you against COVID.
And it does.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I'm gonna move on from that.
No, don't stop. We want to know. I'm saying it does. I think there's again, we had this conversation earlier. People mistake.
Should we prepare another COVID?
That taking this vaccine, right? That taking this vaccine means that you will not be able to get COVID. Nobody said that. Who said
that? Well, the messaging stated that if you take it, you'll be safe. You'll be you won't get COVID. You will not get COVID. You will not get COVID.
That's not true. That's the message. That was not the message. That's the message the anti-vaxxers want to say. Oh, I have a very interesting point, and then we can move on to something else. And if there's something in there you guys want to bring up. People always talk about, like, I get these messages says that the coronavirus is man-made, right? People don't understand what a virus is.
So explain to us, articulate to us what a virus is, Mr. Daly.
A virus is different from a bacterium, right? A bacterium is a complete living organism. So he has a nucleus, he has a body, and he has everything that's involved with a complete living organism. Though it might be a unicellular organism, it's still an organism in its entirety. However, a virus, though it's a living organism, right? Though it's a living, it requires something that has a nucleus,
right,
in order for it to survive. So, but it is a living organism. So when people say that it's created in a lab, you can't create a living human being. I mean, a living being. You cannot give life to anything. You can alter the genome of something by injecting it, but you cannot create living things. So when people talking about this was created in a lab, you're an idiot. It cannot be created in a lab because it's a living thing. It's like saying I can create a tree from scratch. I can create a human being from scratch. You can't do it.
Mm.
So I wish people would stop sending out these messages that says the coronavirus was created in a lab. You cannot create a living being from scratch. If they could, you would cure so many more diseases. And what happened with a
That's true.
virus, a virus lives on other people, so therefore it can mutate much easier than other things. So a bacteria can be killed and wiped out. When you do that with a virus, you can also kill the cells. You kill
Right.
whomever. So the ability to mutate with a virus is significantly different. In case you went to school.
Well, you know what? I'm going to cut you off on this. You're right. You know, we need more young folks to go and study this. We need young folks to really look deeper into this. And this way, we can have more solution to this virus. So, we're going to transition and move into young folks. I'm tired of this COVID. And guess what? I'm depending on our young people to help us come out of this situation.
I have no problem. I'm glad I'm young. Forever young. Forever young.
So we have to give them a place to go and grow. We have to give them a place to develop, to just discover their skills, their ability, and to have some people to mentor. So our guest today, let's bring on our guest
Our
today.
guest is here. Oh,
Yes.
excited. I'm not in the studio.
Hello. Hello.
In the studio, I can't tell anymore. Hey, Judge.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello. How are
Hello.
you?
How you
Welcome
doing,
home.
Your Honor?
How are you today?
How's everything going?
Everything's going smooth, man. I'm enjoying the holidays. Thank you.
Okay, excellent, excellent. How's the weather up there?
Cold, very
Where
cold.
you-
But actually, we're experiencing a heat wave. It's in the 40s, 30, 40. So
That's a heat wave.
that's a heat wave for us at this time of the year.
Okay.
Yes,
Joanne
sir.
was asking where, Dr. Bryant was asking, where are you?
I'm located in the central New York, currently in the Utica, Rome area.
Snow,
Yes.
snow, snow.
Yeah, we're the snow belt.
Yes. Enjoy your snow by yourself.
I'll try to keep it away from the city.
Do you ski?
Oh, I have ski injuries, but I can't say I ski. I tried it with my daughter years ago, and it does not agree with me.
I tried skiing in 1993.
Wow.
I thought I was going to run into a tree. So that was the first and only time I went skiing ever.
Yeah,
So
I think I did it about 3 or 4 times, and that was it. That was enough for me.
All right, welcome to the village, Judge Rasheed.
Thank you, sir.
It's an honor to have you here. Some of the things that are going on around the world, in terms of what's happened. So I'm inquisitive in some of those questions, but you moving up the ranks from a judge to from a lawyer to a judge, you didn't stay there. You did some things that were instrumental in terms of young people. And we were just talking about young people in COVID.
Yes, sir.
First of all, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm Jawaad Rasheed, and I live in central New York in the Utica, Rome area. And I am a retired New York State Family Court magistrate. And more importantly, I am a zealous advocate of young people, as the doctor was talking about young people, and specifically empowering young people of color. My whole thing is, again, as she indicated, we have to let them know that they have to be the change that they seek.
Yes.
That is excellent. And we always love to bring people of color on the show, because part of our audience are people of color, to let them know that you don't have to allow for your circumstances
right.
to create your
That's right.
future or your situation. You could
That's,
wallow in it, or you can make changes. So
that's right.
tell us about one of those things that you're currently doing to help with those changes.
Yes, sir. Well, I am a part of a national organization called the Frontiers International. And more specifically, my local chapter is called the Mohawk Valley Frontiers. We live in the Mohawk Valley, that's part of New York State. And so we're the Mohawk Valley Frontiers. Specifically, I'm totally engaged with our youth component called the Junior Frontiers. And what we do is we have, along with, I have 6 other co-directors. These are professional adults who give their time, money, their expertise, their love, compassion to young people. And for the last since 1996, we have poured everything that we have from our professional perspective, our cultural perspective, and our hopes and aspirations into the youth of our area, the Utica, Rome, Syracuse, Buffalo. We have multiple locations throughout New York State, and we have developed a program which we believe is truly transformational, changing the lives of those who are written off as not going to be able to succeed, those who are written off as not academically capable or did not have the insight to be successful. So we have provided the backdrop to, we think, a successful series of events and programs that lift these children up and give them the courage, insight, and ability to compete anywhere, and more importantly, to love the skin they're in.
I love
Your
that.
Honor, what age group were we talking about?
We start with 4th graders and we
Oh,
go through PhD. So
oh,
we cover the gamut. We have kids as young as 10 and 11, and students who are 27, 28 still pursuing their professional degrees.
So, Your Honor, how many of those young people have come through that program, graduated, and have turned their life around?
Great point. Since 1996, when we originally got started, we started with 8 students. Now our annual number going on the school calendar is between 200 to 240 students a year. And we have a 98.9% college admissions and college attendance. And we're working on our number for college graduation. So far, we're somewhere between 85 to 89% college graduation. And of that, we send over 40% of our students to graduate programs, JDs, MDs, MBAs, and other various master's programs and PhDs.
now do you 4th grade, for 10-year-old 4th grade, hey, I want to get involved in this. What would I have to do?
Yes, we'd like you to go to our website and sign up. And thanks to, unfortunately, as you were talking, you're tired of talking about COVID, I know. But one of the things that COVID did, which is a very strong suit of African Americans historically, is we always have to improvise. We always had to make something out of nothing. And so COVID again made us go back to our necessity of going virtual. And so we have perfected now the art of not only our meeting our students who meet in the facilities in the cities that we service, but we also do virtual. So we touch students all over the country. We have members of our organization from Atlanta, Memphis, Houston, Indianapolis, New Jersey, Georgia. So we have been able to reach out to students all over the country. And if they go to our website and sign up, we'll be in touch with them and hook them up with our bi-weekly meetings.
Now,
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Is it the child that's signing up, or the parent, or the school? How do you
When they're
go?
that young, as a 4th grade, it's definitely going to be the parents. But
Well, I don't know if it would be a school recommendation to you or something like that. Okay.
We find that, not taking anything away from our educational institutions, public or private or charter, but we find that it's best to go directly through the parents. As your colleague was saying, education is, I think today is so heavily dependent upon parent participation. So we go directly through the parents, unless they're in high school And they don't. A lot of them don't have that parent influence in their lives, and we work directly with those high school and college students.
What kind of wait, John, you had a question before I go.
Yeah, Your Honor, what is the recidivism rate for the program that you are conducting?
By recidivism rate, you mean how many come back, or how many their
Exactly. How many of them come back, right?
Well, that's the beauty of our program, is that most of our kids who start in 4th grade, they finish. One of the things we do is we guarantee them, if they start with us by 8th grade, we guarantee them that if they run our program and do what we tell them to do, I can guarantee them scholarships for college. Guaranteed if they run our program. I don't care what.
You hear that? And villagers, you hear that? What the judge is basically saying? His program gives these young kids who may have strayed, instead of doing the straight and narrow, strayed a little bit, but he put them back on track, the program, and gave them another opportunity at life. So, I mean, villagers, you hear what this is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing is not only admirable, but it's God's work. Basically, taking those young people out of the wilderness, taking
Yes,
them
sir.
out of the wilderness and bringing them back into the light.
Yes, sir. Well, not just me. I have, thank God, I have 6, sometimes 7 co-directors who put in. All of these are adults, Black members of the Black and brown communities, who put in 10 to 30 hours every single week in volunteer work. We pay nobody. We're a totally volunteer organization, and they really care about their community, and we put the work in. And like you said, that's the miracle, is the transformational processes lies within the hearts and compassion of the people who touch these children's lives.
That's true.
Your Honor, one of our as
Okay.
Miss Muhammad Gail has made a comment. She says, does your organization work with the youth who have been placed in juvenile detention facilities, like you with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services?
We do not have a direct collaboration with youth division in New York State. We have had many students come through our program who have been in some type of incarceration system. We have had students do that. We don't necessarily have a relationship with those organizations, but when we find students like that, we utilize every ounce of our expertise to help those students. We have a lot of students who are in foster care.
So we need. I mean, that's a collaboration, a connection that really needs to happen.
I hear you. And
So I'm wondering, would you be interested in doing something like that?
Yes, sir. Given our resources, and I'm always a straight shooter. Given the resources that we have to focus on the things that we know we can do. However, that is a wonderful extension of something that we had the resources. I know we could do it.
Well, I mean, that's something that we need to look into, because I'm quite sure that our Governor Hochul would be interested in something like that. So Roderick, I think you should be able to try to facilitate a connection here, Mr. Daly. What do you think?
Me on the spot. Yeah, I really think it's a great
and Gail, I want to thank Ms. Muhammad for bringing that up. So I think that's something that we should definitely follow up. And this is why this village, what we do is so important, to bring this sort of information to our communities so we can develop something for something like this. So I want to give kudos to Mr. Daly for really having a program like this.
I want to go back, Judge. This idea of giving back to the youth, where did it come from?
For me personally, I can't speak for my other co-directors, but for me personally, it came from my father. My father taught me everything I needed to know by the time I was 6 or 7, because he taught me dedication, hard work. He taught me perseverance. He taught me how to be creative and not let a situation define me. I mean, so all those things I learned as a little boy. But the desire to give back was always in my household. We grew up very, very poor in Buffalo, New York. My father had a second grade education because he came from Mississippi, where he had to go out in the fields and work. By the time he was in third grade, he was doing a man's job. So they didn't let him become educated. He educated himself. But in doing that, he passed that on to us, that there are no limitations except the one you put on yourself. And so I learned that I had to give back because of so much he gave to us. And he was steadily giving to his community. He was steadily giving to, he worked 3 jobs, and everything he got, he was giving to African communities from the little money that he had every year that I've known in my life. And so I started just doing the same thing. I'm trying to emulate my hero, so that's where I got it from.
It's awesome to hear that. A lot of us who are actually listening out there, we are from the same type of background, right?
Yes, sir.
Where whatever it is. I mean, I know I could speak for my parents, right, with the limited education that they got, and they trained me to say, I think I had said at the beginning of the show, that your community or circumstances does not always dictate your future.
Amen.
Because you can become the change that is needed, right?
Yes.
And so we applaud that. I see a couple of people out here talked about the Junior Frontier Program. Is that name Connie Mack? I can't read that. Luis is saying that the Frontier Program is an excellent program. And Gail followed up and said that she'll make an effort to find the contacts for this department that she's talking about. A lot of our young people are suffering.
Yes, they are.
Right. A lot of young people are suffering. So when you think about this, how do you do outreach?
Yes, sir.
How do you do outreach? And let's start with that question. How do you do outreach?
Yeah. So one of the things we do is we go to where the kids are. The school districts that will work with us, we work with them. We go into the schools. We do open houses. We do professional days. We bring Black experts into the school districts. We work with the youth organizations that are in organizations of color that are in our area. Well, we go to the underground cafes that the students deal with. We meet students wherever they at, and we always are pushing, hey, what if you found yourself in a situation where you had control of your destiny? Are you willing to find out what that's all about? And then we go to the churches, we go to the mosques, we go to the temples, we go to wherever the kids are, and we partner with any organization that want to be collaborative in a positive way to uplift these students. So we to answer your question, we meet them wherever they are.
Now, where are the different branches of your organization? I know you mentioned Mohawk. You're the Mohawk location. Yes, Mohawk Valley location.
So
where are other locations?
So we're in Utica, Rome. That's where we started. Then we moved to Syracuse. So we got those 3 cities are like 1 hour apart. That's an easy call for us because we're only traveling an hour one way, an hour the other way. And then we moved to Buffalo, New York, which was a 3-hour trip. And next year we're opening up in Rochester. And we also we took a quantum leap. And because we were getting so many calls from Tennessee, we went to Memphis and we opened up a branch in Memphis. This year is our first year in Memphis. We also work with our collaborating sisters and brother programs in Indianapolis, Houston, Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham area, North Carolina, and Washington, D.C., Virginia area.
What can it take to open one in New York City?
That's
yes, sir. We have to get a critical mass, of interested parents. Hopefully, some professionals.
I'm one.
Right there. Parents and people who will help us carry the banner. It would be very difficult for me to be in New York City every other week, to organize. So I have to have people willing to do organizational work so that we can then do the fundamental transformation work. So I'm just looking for. We've had students from New York City. I should tell you that because we've had kids from New York City via Zoom for the last 10, 15 years. We've been working with kids out in New York City. But in terms of the numbers, we haven't done the numbers that we would like to get out of the city, because it takes people on the ground.
I think what Joanne and I are alluding to is,
Yes.
tell us specifically
The number you're looking for.
the number you're looking for, and what is it? Because we know we're from we're all part of the New York City system a
Yes,
little
sir.
bit. I have a lot of parents
Yes, sir.
who are, who would be interested in something like this. And people are always asking me, how do I get a scholarship for college? How do I do this? How do I do that? And a lot of times they're not going to be watching the show, right? So,
That's right.
or they're not gonna, but they expect the information.
That's right.
So then I guess we're asking, how do we get started with the process, and what does that look like?
I would think fundamentally the process would start with saying that if we had 6 to 8 students who are saying we're ready to do the dedicated time, work, and energy to put into this program to make it pay off for us, then I would need, for every 6 to 8 students, I would need an adult who would really ready to do some organizational work. And if we can get those two together, then we would come down there. We would work with them at certain periods of time with the adults who are volunteers. We have modules developed by one of our co-directors, Dr. Chanel Reid Benson, who's a educational expert in the field of educating Black boys and Black girls. We've developed modules that we use in our program that we can put to work immediately.
But Your Honor,
Yes.
why are you so successful? What is it? Give us the recipe.
We're just driven, man. I don't accept anything other than success. We're just driven. The people I have working with me are outstanding, and we're just driven. We don't know any limits. Our limit is when every child has been uplifted. I mean, that's our goal. Every child that we can touch. So I guess it's just that we're very passionate about what we do. Very passionate.
There's a comment by James Paul. Judge, can you talk about the HBCU tours and the reasons that you do that?
Now, we have done what they call the Historical Black College University Tour every year since 2002. And we think it is imperative, especially students from like New York State area. We don't have an HBCU in New York State, as you guys know, not a recognized HBCU. And it's so imperative that our students see people who look like them, who walk like them, who eat the same things that they eat in a college setting. They have to see not only students, but they have to see professors. They have to see administrators. They have to see PhDs. They have to see what success smells, tastes like, look like, walk like, talk like. And the immediate connection and bond is tremendous. I've done every year. When I go on these trips, I think that we've reached our apex, and then I see the light bulb go on in a child that I had never seen that light go on before. And they just make that, hey, I belong here. I got a place I belong. I can do this, So I do the HBCU tour because it is so valuable to our children connecting to their abilities.
I have 2 questions about the HBCU.
Yes, sir.
Question number 1, the numbers, right? About how many students?
The numbers are limiting on the HBCU.
There are 2 questions. Hold on.
Yes.
The numbers of students you take on tour, and through some vetting process or whatever the case is, do these HBCUs offer scholarships and money to students?
Okay, that's a great question, man.
Or through the program. So both the number of students that you're taking on tour, and one of the big things about parents is I can't afford it. So afford to go to the tour and afford to go to the college.
Yes, sir. Great. 2 great points. First point is, in terms of the college tour, it is limited, obviously, because it's space. We usually take a 56 passenger bus that makes the rounds, and we go out for a week, and we're on the road for a week and hitting all the every year we rotate the colleges that we go to. We visit over a 4-year span. We're going to visit up to 72 to 80 colleges, different HBCUs every 4 years. So I like to take them, kids get them when they're in 8th and 9th grade, so that they can see the variations, the differences, and all that good stuff. And they keep journals, and it's a working trip. It's a very business type trip, and that's one of the reasons it's successful. The other part of the question is, I think that I tell parents that if you're really interested in your child getting a scholarship, it doesn't start your junior year. It doesn't start your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
It starts in 4th grade, 5th grade.
Amen.
If I get a child
Amen.
by 8th grade, that's why I said if I get them by 8th grade, our program can be transformational. We have time now to make this child into the package that they want to be. You know, I'm a former, I was a 1 year, what we call the Green Dean in the admissions office of a very, of an Ivy League school. We know how to package students. We know what they're looking for. We know how to set up their academic record from 8th grade through 12th grade. We know what courses they need to take. We know what the benchmarks are. We know how to get their SAT scores up, their ACT scores up. We do all that. So we have a very thorough academic program that if they follow it, I guarantee you they're going to get scholarship, because we know what the scholarship benchmarks are. To answer the second part, we have, there's 2 different HBCU tours that go on. One is the tour itself, where we take 50, you know, we have a 56 bus passenger. We go around to 8 to 10 schools that year. Every year we have at least, I would say, 15 to 20 to 22 seniors. Every single one of our seniors get accepted on this route, and up to 3/4 of them get full financial scholarships, because we know what the schools are looking for. We have our kids come prepared. They have all their transcripts. They have all of their SAT scores. They have their recommendations. We have the packages that we have. Each one have about 10 to 12 packages that we do along the trip that they hand out. They do interviews on the spot. So our kids always get full scholarships. The other one is the largest HBCU college fair, which usually it's in the Maryland, DC area. We take our seniors down to that one also. Every year, we're not the largest organization there, but we take the lion's share of the money. Usually they give out about $11 million in scholarship every year.
Wow.
Wow.
My program
$11
alone
million.
walks away, for the last 4 or 5 years, we walked away with 1.3 to 1.5 million.
Wow.
Because our kids are just prepared. They're always prepared. And that's because of the hard work that the directors do, you know.
Now, with COVID that just recently happened, and some of the kids not being able to take the SAT and the ACT exam, what approach did you all take in supporting the students get into one of these, schools?
Yes, ma'am. So it's very difficult, as you just showed. For the last 2 years, I really feel for our juniors and seniors, because they've missed such a dramatic, I think, component of college preparatory. And so many schools have gone test optional. There's about 5 to 10% of schools now that are saying you don't even have to take the test. There's still the minority of schools that are saying that, but a lot of them have gone test optional. And so we fashion their package around that. But for most, I don't know about New York City, but for most places outside of New York City, they still offer the SAT. My kids still took it last year and the year before. We found places where they can take that. And because we do SAT prep courses throughout the year to get our kids ready. We have professionals who work with the tests and design tests and then get our kids ready, teach them how to read the test. Because to me, the test is really a function of how well you test, not a function of intelligence. The SAT has never been an intelligence test. The ACT is not an intelligence test. It's just how well you take tests. So we teach our kids how to take tests and have the background information that goes with that. But yeah, we had to reformulate some ways in which we package our kids during the last 2 years for those who could not get to the SAT, or they were canceled when they got there because of COVID.
Right, which is a shame.
It is. It really is.
There's a question I want to ask, and I want to go back. One of the audience asked a question, going back up. No, the question about funding.
Yes, sir.
The question is, how is the program? There you go. Thank you. From Gail, how is the program funded?
Yes, sir. Most of the program is funded. We submit a lot of different types of grants and applications for various basic philanthropic organizations and individuals. We have not received any type. Well, I shouldn't say that. This year was the very first year we got any type of public money. We usually stay away from public money, meaning state, county, city, because it curtails too much of the work we do. They will put it in a straitjacket. And our kids don't learn that way. We can't do it the traditional way because we found that don't work. So we do a lot of other things that many of those types of grants from the state, the city, and the county would not allow us to do. But this year we did receive some money for the first time from the state. But overall, we get our monies from individual philanthropic people and organizations. Like we just got a health grant where we're working on the mental health of our youth. Many of them have been depressed due to COVID and other types of things. Just being Black in America, you're depressed. So we have
Yeah, true.
we've been able to get medical grants from Blue Cross Blue Shield dealing with mental health of young Black students, and so we're dealing with their health, we're dealing with their physicality, we're getting them into all types of classes that get them moving, whether it's Zumba or martial arts, or we have culinary class that's teaching them how to eat healthy, how to cook healthy. We're dealing with parents, and our parents are in our community. We are all invited in these free. We do all this free, and so our biggest thing is trying to provide our community with not only academic pressuring for our students, but trying to provide things that touch the very lives of our students, their families, and their parents, and the community at large.
Chanel wrote that Chanel Benson Reid, I'm assuming she's one of the persons who participates with the tour, and she writes that it changed her life, and she's like a volunteer. So actually, Chanel, I'm curious, and I would love for you to call in and tell us how that changed. I mean, Andre could put up the 718-791 number on that screen.
Yes,
you could 718-791 number 718-791-3950. Again, that's 718-791-3950. You could put that number up, and I would love for Chanel to call in and tell us, as a volunteer, how did that change her life? And
well, we call her Doc. Doc can definitely let you know what's going on. I think the very first year she came, she looked at me and said, "You know what? You don't have a program. This is a revolutionary act that you're doing. You're changing the lives of students."
James writes that we the John, myself, and Joanne need to step into a Zoom meeting to understand a lot of the effect.
We would love to have you come to one of our Zoom meetings, no doubt. James is one of our co-directors also. A young man who has put in time and energy galore. He runs our robotics team and our STEAM team meetings. So he introduces all of our students to the world of robotics, the world of STEAM, along with one of our exceptional seniors who has been teaching robotic courses for the last 2 to 3 years on a college campus. So that our students give back as well, those who have that expertise. And so James makes sure that happens. So he's such a vital part of our program.
Yeah, do you have like a convention?
We do. Our national organization.
All of the groups get together.
Yes, sir. Usually every July. Usually it's the second or third. I think it's the third week of July. We haven't done it in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. We've had our youth summits by Zoom and that type of stuff, because we also have youth summits throughout the year, empowering our students across the country. But we're hoping to do it this year. We're hoping this year that we might have be able to get together again in July.
From all the different locations?
Yes, ma'am. We come from all over the country.
Oh, that should be fun.
I think the village would love to participate with that. Because I'm really interested in how would we get that to lower what do you call that? You have the upstate and the lower state.
Low state. We call you guys downstate.
Yeah.
But I would love to, man. We would love to be able to get to the city. But the city has its unique challenges because your boroughs are really spread out and all that good stuff. So how we would do it physically, I'm not quite sure. Maybe we have to start in one borough and then go from barrel to barrel to barrel. I don't know, but you guys would have more insight in that than I would. But we would love to do that. We'd love to get enough parents who are passionate about this, and then we would roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. You talk about the success rate, but share that emotion.
Yes.
Share that emotion to see.
Brother, I can tell you.
The kid, I mean, a lot of, because sometimes you have parents, right? Not sometimes. It's not sometimes. Very frequently, I have come across at the high school level, when I was in high school, and one of her persons is a middle school person, one's the elementary school level, and we've seen frustration on parents.
Yes.
So talk to us. Are any of James, you, or Chanel can share a story of the look, of the euphoria or whatever, to see the transformation? Because you use that word transformational.
Yes, sir.
Look at the transformation of a student, a young man, young lady,
yes, sir,
who went through that program.
Yes. I don't know. Is Doc on, or did anyone called in yet? Did Doc or
No.
James?
And before you answer that one, I also want to add to his question.
Yes,
do you find that many of the students that you encounter are coming from single family homes, or from both parents,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
just, hey, they just want to venture out?
Yeah.
What are you finding more?
The vast majority of our students are single parent homes,
Okay.
and most of them are without fathers. So that's why it's so important that I have co-directors like James and like and like Andrew, black males who provide, in all that's in honesty to you, we become surrogate dads to a number of children, because part of the success of an academic program is only as successful as the child believes in you. You have to be a mentor at all times, no matter what academic things you're trying to accomplish. You must be a mentor. And so these three men are very good mentors to these children. Andrew and James are always mentoring young people, and myself as well. So the other four are females who are also doing hard work mentoring these young ladies, which again come from single homes, and they don't have an idea of what a relationship should be like, and interaction, not a relationship, but interaction with males, because they mostly come from female dominated homes. And so they're always mentoring. We're 24/7, 365 mentoring all the time. And it doesn't stop with just the kids coming to the meeting or doing all the programs that we've listed. We have programs almost all week long to keep our kids engaged, to keep them away from the negative element and all that type of stuff. But most of the time, we're putting out fires. I get calls at 10, 11 at night. They'll say, Judge Rasheed, our electricity went off and we don't have no heat. We go into action. We take care of that. We do things way outside of the boundaries. But with our children, you have to, because they're dealing with realities, and their ability to escape that reality is only as strong as the response that we can give them or help them with in escaping their predicaments. So we're a 24-hour service.
Similar to John said, I'm sorry about that. Similar to what John said, you're mainly doing a lot of the work that many churches would have done or could have done, but might not be involved. And some of these families might not be involved in the church.
That's right.
So it's just a way of building the bridge between the community.
Amen.
And also, what it is that you're doing with these kids. So thank you.
No, thank you. I couldn't have said it better. I'm not a philosopher, not a big one anyway. And we've seen the shift in our community from in the gospel, from the gospel of social justice to the gospel of prosperity, and now we're seeing the effects of that long term. And our many of our temples, our mosques, our churches are no longer doing that kind of outreach from the social justice gospel. Now it's all about Benjamins. And so it's and not all churches, because we have some churches that are very involved with our community, but the vast majority doesn't do that work anymore.
That's true. And you're actually upstate, you're taking the place of where we're dealing with gang affiliation. So you're taking that portion part away from the kids by saying, hey, we're going to jump in, we're going to be hands-on. So that is so necessary, and that is why we have to make sure that we work together in creating a branch in New York City.
Amen. And that's
So
why I'm on the village, because it takes a village, no doubt about it.
yes. And
let me do you do home visits? Does the program do home visits or school? Does a parent say?
I can't tell you the amount of living rooms I've sat in and kitchen tables that all of our directors do. We go to these kids' homes. We talk with their parents, their grandparents, anyone that has any influence on them. We use every hook and crook we can get our hands on. That includes being in the home.
How many kids you say you have currently?
Location breakdown. In Utica, Rome is one what we call one branch, and that's probably close to 85 to 90. Then we go to Syracuse, which is historically have been about 65 to 70. Then you go to Memphis, which has been about, this is their first year, 40 to 45 with registered members. And then we go to individuals all over the country, because kids join us that are not part of groups. So we have kids from all over the country that builds up into another 45 to 50. So we're probably still around 220 or so total kids.
That is awesome. So when you really think about it, Blacks are among the lowest, if not outside of Native American, I think is the second lowest graduation rate from college. And to look at 220 students, say 85% of them have graduated from college, and almost 99% graduating from high school. Those are real numbers.
Yes, sir.
And the effect that they're doing. And you didn't mention it, but a lot of these kids are going on to 4-year college, not just 2-year.
Right. The vast majority of our kids are going to 4-year college, and we do use. New York State has a wonderful. To be honest with you, as a former educator, New York has a wonderful junior college system, as one of the best in our country, and so we utilize that as well. But as you pointed out, the graduation rate for kids who go to junior college that goes on is woefully less than those who go directly into a 4-year school. But
right.
With our support and our follow-up, we take our JUCO graduates and put them in the 4 years, unless they were in a program that gives them the working knowledge they need right out of JUCO. Because some of our kids are not going to be academia all the time. Some of our kids are going to go into trade. Some of our kids are going to go into the different types of fields that you can do with a 2-year degree, and that's great. I'm all for it, as long as we can have a market created for them to get immediate employment and that type of thing. And that we work on that as well with many partners, I would say, throughout Central New York. Collaboration is the key, because we can't do everything, and to collaborate with those who want to see the same thing is a wonderful thing. It's a powerful tool.
That's important. I want to segue a little bit. I want to touch on your judgeship and some opinion questions on your judge, and then we want to finish up going back to the work on the youth today.
Wait! Before his opinion, what made you become a judge?
Well, I've referred to my title as magistrate. There's different tracks in New York State. There's a judicial, there's a judge track. They're all judicial. One is a judge where you have to run campaigns, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and all that. And the other is an appointment. I was appointed as a family court magistrate back in 1990, I think since 92, 93, I can't remember, through various administrations, the original Cuomo administration, and then all the various administrations up through the Sons administration, up down to up into just last year. So I wanted to, I just, when I was a kid, I was so passionate about fairness and justice. Got that from my dad, again, my father. And the only thing that he allowed us to watch TV on was 2 hours a day. And the only show that came on was Perry Mason. We only had 3 channels back in those days: ABC, NBC, CBS. And the only thing he would let me watch was Perry Mason. It was a legal show. And I saw this lawyer do social change type things. And that's when I decided at the age of 8 or 9 that I was going to be a lawyer. And I stayed with it. I mean, I went out and I bought the little plastic briefcase, and I begged my parents to buy me a trench coat because all the lawyers I saw on TV had trench coats on. And I just followed through since that time. I mean, I just hung with that idea because I thought it was the most effective way to bring about social justice. That's
Okay.
why I became a
Okay,
lawyer.
just to interrupt you, my producer's asking you to forward the number to Schnell that I think he sent you.
Okay.
Yeah, forward
Excuse
that.
me 1 second. Yes, sir.
And I know that James put up as well to tell Marquis' story.
Oh, Marquise's
He will
story.
share, yes, to everyone.
Okay. Marquise was a young man who was his father was incarcerated when he was about 6th or 7th grade. Got a life sentence, and Marquise was acting out. Obviously, you know, he lost his father. He was acting out in the household. He went to reform school. We did get him out of reform school at 8th, 9th grade, put him in our program, and Marquise was such a bright young man, but no one saw that brightness because all they saw was the misbehaving. You know how it goes with our kids. They're acting up for reasons, and that's what they saw was just the acting up. But in any event, Marquise was a brilliant young man, turned out to fall in love with academics. He fell in love with books, reading, and Marquise went on to graduate from high school with a top degree and went to one of the top colleges in America. He won the Fulbright Scholarship, Rhodes Scholarship. He won all of these prestigious scholarships. He took a year after college, traveled the world on their dime, doing whatever he does, and then he came back and now he's won 2 full scholarships.
By the way, I'm sorry for the audience
Yeah.
out there. Just explain briefly, like
Yes.
1 or 2 seconds, what's a Fulbright scholarship?
A Fulbright Scholarship is one of the scholarships given by one of the top academic institutions in the country, in the world, to the most brightest people in our country. They
Coming
want
out of
to
your
give them, they finance them to do things that allow them to follow their curiosity and to continue outside of the academic per se arena, to follow their curiosity, to create more of a love for whatever they're doing so that they can become a better leader. It fosters leadership and develops a love and a craving to do something outstanding. That's what it's for. And he won 3 or 4 of these.
This is a young black man coming out of your program.
Yes, sir.
So, and you know, I want to applaud you.
Who was incarcerated?
Right, that people would have written this kid off.
Yes, sir.
But you guys didn't.
Yes, sir.
And that's
He
important.
didn't, and I'm giving the credit to
and he didn't write himself off either.
Marquise decided he wanted to be something. He said, I had a choice. I could become a thug and end up with a life sentence like my dad, or I can do something transformational and become a lawyer and go and fight for my dad's release. And he chose the latter.
That's awesome. That's
Yes,
awesome. Sir. So I was gonna go switch over a little bit to your role as a magistrate.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor. Today, the Colorado judge,
Yes.
Colorado governor. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yes, sir.
That changed the truck driver's sentence from 110 years to 10 years.
Yes, sir.
One, talk about why does he have, are you able to speak to why does he have the ability to do that as a governor, and maybe say, because the judge said his hands were tied.
Yeah.
So what that means.
Yes, sir. And our legal system, you know, this is me talking as someone who had a 40-year legal career. Our legal system, everybody wants to think that it's a hard and fast system that treats everyone the same. Obviously, that's not true. Anyone who lives in America and can take off the blinders know that that's not true. So, and in doing,
okay, so give me 1 minute. I'll get you on air in 1 minute.
Okay, so in looking at the laws that we have across the state, and I'm not familiar with Colorado laws, but I do know that they have sentencing structures in every state. So whatever you're convicted of, the judge has a parameters that he must sentence you in accordance with those parameters. Only someone outside of that, like a governor or president, can mute something or change something like that. And sometimes the punishment just doesn't fit the offense. Mm-hmm. If anyone who looked at that case understands why he had to drive into the pile. And He wasn't. There was no intent to hurt. There was no intent to kill. There was no intent to maim. The reality is that he had no brakes. And so it's really interesting that they had to sentence him as if he was a mass murderer. And that's what he got sentenced 110 years, as if he was a mass murderer. But the facts didn't fit that, and everybody knew that. Even the prosecutor didn't even want him to be sentenced as a mass murderer. So only the governor or someone higher than could step in and say, you know what, I'm overriding the legal system, and I'm going to institute what I think is fair and just.
What's interesting though is how quickly public outcry went from 110. I believe that I think the number is to took off 100 years. Before we continue on, we have Chanel on the line.
Yes.
Chanel, say hello to the villagers.
Hello, villagers. How's everyone doing this evening?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Chanel.
Hey, Judge.
So he calls you Doc, like
yes,
we call. Is that a PhD doc or is it MD doc?
It's PhD, sir.
Oh, just like Dr. Bryan, she's PhD doc.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. What has it been like for you to be a volunteer for Junior Frontier?
You know, what I realized about the organization is if you want an injection of hope, an injection of belief, if you want to feel like there is something on the other side of all of this that we as people of color go through, being a part of the Junior Frontiers will help you see the greatness that all of our students have the ability to achieve. That's what I've learned in being a part of it. I got started around 4 or 5 years ago. I've been committed to the program since. I've had to take time off for different ventures I'm involved in, but the judge and all the other directors know that if there is a need, I will step up. I will do whatever is necessary. I did mention that the Hbcu tour changed my life. I am originally from Southern California. There are no HBCUs in California. Say that again?
No, I said not at all. You're right about that.
Nothing even near anything like a HBCU. And when I moved east and I had an opportunity to go on the tour, I did not know what to expect. What I realized was stepping foot on a Black college or university, that was the first time in my life that I had been in an environment that was created for me. And I remember thinking to myself, I have done well for myself going to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. However,
was it a PWI?
Yes.
Did you just say PWI? I've never heard that.
They call them PWIs.
I never heard that. I went to a PWI then, right? I went to a PWI.
Me too.
I couldn't believe. I was in awe of the entire experience, so much so that I had to figure out a way to get my daughters on the tour. If I see a kid on the street, my first question, are you in school? Where do you go? Did you take the SAT? Come to the Junior Frontiers. You need to be a part of this. It was a eye-opening experience just to see all of us operating in our genius with the standard of excellence, and to allow young people to see it as well.
I have a question for you, Chanel. Or Doc, either one of you can answer the question, or both. The question is, when the kid takes the bus, the expression versus when the kid gets off the bus, the expression.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's start with Doc first.
It's a long trip. It's a very long trip.
Oh no. I went to a special program as well, so we took long trips, but the feeling changes though from the beginning to the end.
Oh my God, yes. Most of our students are from the upstate area, and they've never been in an environment that was created for them. And so to step foot on a Black campus, they're like, oh my God, this is home. And so now they know there is a place for me, no matter what, there is a place for me. That's an unbelievable feeling to them. And so they are invigorated. They are enlivened, you know? They are like, yeah, I can be home. Because that's what I see HBCU as. I saw it as home. And that's what the students see.
What about you, Doc?
I think when they get on the bus initially, unless they drove with us in the past, unless there's like a repeat student, if they get on the bus initially, the students are very pensive. They're very worried. Is this going to be military camp style? I mean, they're worried about the rules and regulations. Because we give them printed rules and regulations. We have them sign off on them that they're going to follow. We have a whole protocol. So they're worried that I'm not going to have no fun on this trip, And that's their pensive when they get on. By the time they get off, they're already saying, can I go next year? If they're not a senior, they're always trying to get up in the next year. If they're a senior, they're just saying, thank you. And we do all kinds of programs. We create our own culture on that bus. We create a culture of caring, loving, supporting, pushing. We all become each other's biggest booster. We push our seniors to excel. The young kids, we push them to learn. The kids have to keep journals the whole time. They're writing during all the interviews. When they meet the presidents of these colleges, the admissions officers of these colleges. They're taking notes. We transform them from students of curiosity to students who go about understanding how to take care of business. And so that trip is fundamentally changing for a number of reasons. I tell them if they're the same kid that got off the bus they got on, then I failed. I failed my mission. So we rarely fail.
Awesome. And so when the kids go on tour, Doc, are the kids only from the Mohawk Valley, or are these from the national scope of students?
We actually have students from all over go on the tour. So we have Mohawk Valley, we have Onondaga County, we have New Jersey, we have Philadelphia, whichever group of students who have signed up to be on the tour, those are the ones who are going to get on. We got 56 seats and they fill up fast.
But do they all meet up in Mohawk Valley, or do you have different stops on the way? How does that work?
We have different stops along the way.
We picked up kids in Mississippi. We picked up kids in Ohio, Maryland.
You guys are just doing a tour. All right, yeah. I like.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc, for enlightening us on what is happening in the program. It's very important that people understand. I used to do an international tour for young people. And like you said, some of them didn't have passports, never been on a plane before, right? And one of the things that they always nervous about is, oh, Mr. Daly is going to separate our rooms, and and then they're like, I had one student, and I share the story all the time, that he went back, and the teacher was talking about something like the Colosseum in Italy, and the student actually took over the class.
Wow!
Because the student actually, he went firsthand and saw the Colosseum and everything that applies to it.
Yes.
I was able to get that back, and I think that's what you're talking about when you say when the student get on, they're like, "Oh my God, I don't even know John, and he's my roommate."
Yeah.
And they get off. Now all of a sudden, Mike and John are now best friends.
Exactly.
And that happens a lot because now you spend so much time, you realize that you're not that far apart in worlds. That's important.
Very true. I actually want to find out more.
Yes.
And I know our viewers, also our villagers, want to find out more. How can parents sign up? We're gonna get a New York City branch, so I'm gonna tell you that.
We're down.
We're gonna communicate.
First, the best thing is to make contact with us at MV. That's MV Frontiers, FRONTIERS.com. And our Mohawk Valley Senior Club comes up. You click on Junior Frontiers, and then it all comes up. Then you can send us messages. You can call us. Our phone numbers are listed for the directors. All our emails are there. All that good stuff. Please contact us.
Onika, Andre will bring that. Andre, can you bring up Onika's comment again, please? Judge, talk about the money our kids walk away with. What is that about?
Wow. So like I said, like Anika is one of our recently new co-director, and her son moved, was in Texas, I believe, and moved about 2 or 3 years ago into the Mohawk Valley. And this young man, you know, he has a motor. He's very, very motivated. But we gave him all of the types of structure that he needs, the direction that he needs, and the guidance and the mentorship. He walked away with a full scholarship at one of the top Ivy League schools. And not only did he get a full scholarship, but I mean, they gave him so much money that he had to bank it, you know? So he's just another great success story of a young man who applied himself, who took advantage of all the things we had to offer, and turned it and parlayed it into a full ride for 4 years at a top Ivy League college, you know? So he's a great example.
And it's great to have parents come back and say, hey, you know what?
Yes.
To advocate, to say, hey, you know what? My child was able to walk away from this, and this is how important this program is. So
yes, ma'am.
It's awesome.
Every one of our directors, except for me, every one of our co-directors, I think we have 7, are former parents of students that were in our program. They loved it so much they came back and said, I want to join. I want to give time. I want to give back. Even though their kids are all gone. They are volunteering now. They're full time.
Before Joanne, you ask that question, Doc, before I let you go, tell the parents out there in a couple of sentences why this program is so important in your own words.
I would say in my own words, I watch students who have interest in going to schools all over the country. I deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and they get accepted. It might not be a good fit. They reach out to me and say, hey, Doc, I went on this tour. I was wondering if you could help. They find themselves at an HBCU. Now they're a 4.0 student. When it comes to the junior frontier, our goal is to get students where they want to be. That's it. Where do you want to be? Let's figure out how to get you there. Whether that's at an Ivy League school, whether that is at a UC school, or whether that's at an HBCU. Our goal is to get them where they want to be, and we will move whatever we have to get them there. We stand in the trenches with them. That's why the program is so important.
All right. God bless, and thank you for calling in.
Yes, thank you for your dedication too.
You know, I also want to mention that we've gone international. We've had students from Burundi, students from Nigeria, from Liberia. We started a trip where we take now, in conjunction with our sister program in Indianapolis, who initiated the African tour. We now take our kids on an African tour every year. We've been to South Africa. Last year we were supposed to go to Ghana, but it got canceled because of COVID. This year we're supposed to go to either Ghana or Kenya. So we were exposing our kids to international flavor because we want them to see themselves as world leaders, world citizens.
I was just looking at going to Ghana, so I'm
actually one of my girlfriends right now. She's in Ghana.
Wow.
So
I looked up. I don't remember which part of Ghana I looked up, but I did look up a couple of places on the coast and Nigeria. To be honest, you mentioned 2 places right away that I was thinking about. I want to go back to a couple of questions and then finish up strong with. So we're talking about the judge, the situation. There's last week came out that the judge in New Orleans, her comment with the N-word and so forth, gave a great disservice to why, well, not a disservice, but it gave credence to why people don't trust the court system, why they talk about people. What is your reflection on that?
I don't know that particular judge, and I'm not too familiar with the circumstances other than what I read, like you.
Right.
But my overall comment would simply be, you cannot have a nation that is multicultural, multi-diverse, not also have that diversity and reflection at every element of every one of our institutions. people have to see themselves in order to believe in any institution. If I don't see myself in that institution, whether it's my culture, whether it's my language, whether it's my orientation, it's hard for me to be vested in the outcome of that institution. So I think that by having someone in that institution use that N word, it just reinforces for those of us whose skin is who come from the darker hue, it reinforces for us that this institution does not serve us. It does not have our best interest in mind. If they can use that kind of language.
And that's actually how I felt. I felt.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer nor a judge. I'm an educator, but I felt that it created a great disservice and distrust.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It does.
Of the system. And when you look, and sometimes when you look at, when you walk into the system, the court system, what you find is not a lot of people of color who are in the position to dole out sentences.
That's right.
And penalties, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're making these kind of comments,
that's
how
right.
can I even walk in and say I'm gonna give up immediately?
Exactly. You have no faith from the get-go that you're going to get any kind of justice. No faith.
And it goes not just for this woman, but for everybody else around her. Because now I can't trust you either.
Exactly.
Because maybe you all think the same.
And that's why something has to be done about that situation.
Yeah. I think they said they're going to revisit some of her cases. Any thoughts on Desmond Tutu? I just thought about that.
He was one of my heroes. I got to meet him in person. I just think he was a great man. He put forth many of the strategies in place that were utilized throughout the continent of Africa. And I think that his place in history is still yet to be developed.
Awesome. James wrote, if you don't love the people, eventually you will betray the people. And that explains that judge in New Orleans.
That's right.
So I just, again, can you give us that information again to put up for
Yes, sir.
Frontier Valley? And just tell us, I guess in one sentence, how important this work it is for you.
This work is so important to me. I retired so that I could do this full time. That's how important it is to me. I was blessed to have a career that gave me and my family economic stability, but that wasn't why I took the job. So I've retired so that I can do this full time, and that's what I do. It's my passion. It's the reason that I live.
And you know what? We thank you for that. We thank you for your dedication. We thank you for your commitment and your drive for investing in the young folks. And it will not be forgotten. And they'll come back to thank you, just like the parents. So thank you. And I look forward to working with you so that we can set up New York City.
Ma'am. Thank you, Doctor. I look forward to that.
And thank you for continuing the work of Desmond Tutu, because he really was a pioneer.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
God bless you guys. Keep the village alive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Joanne, that work is awesome. You can't, knowing that you're helping young people and people of color on that level, because when you really think about it, it's hard in this world economically for people of color. It's hard in this world educationally. It's hard in this world to get things done as much as you want to for Black and brown boys and girls.
Yeah.
Know that we have professionals out there. You have a judge, you have a doctor, you have other lawyers who are dedicating their time free of charge.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't have that now. Nowadays, you don't have that. I think growing up,
when you really think about it, a lawyer costs $250 an hour, up to $500 an hour, and for you to give up that time for free, kudos.
So I can say that this, what he's doing, definitely put a smile on my face, because it reminded me of when I was a teenager and people invested in me. and giving back and introducing me to different things. So a lot of those time span has been gone. More people don't have the time. Introducing you to a world of, I remember being 17 and 18 and performing at Lincoln Center and having somebody invest in me. Oh my God, this thing is driving me crazy. Having someone invest in me from the NAACP at 16, 17 years old, and just building the confidence that I need to stand on stage and to perform by myself at Lincoln Center, and just learning the art of ceramics and dentistry and creating, knowing every, so many of the real life application and real life skills that I grew up with, unfortunately that was taken out and hopefully is going to go back into school. So introducing kids to culinary, like he mentioned, was something that I was introduced to at a young age. That really the drive of me going back into education and leaving IT was to teach culinary because I loved it so much. So it is a great thing, and meeting attorneys and defending, at a young age, going to trial and putting a case together. So it is awesome to see that, hey, that is being brought back into the life of young folks, and that will never turn them away from um learning, real life application and learning. So and people taking that time out, choir directors and attorneys and judge and things like that. So I value those individuals because as a young person, yes, it happened years ago, whatever, but it left the imprint in me that reminded me, hey, I always have to give back. Yes, exposure is the key. And that is so true because you don't know what you like. You don't know who you are as a young person, but eventually, hey, you try this, you experiment that, or you discover who you become and what drives you. And with that, and people investing in young folks, you have that ability. And when older people set in their careers come back and dedicate that time to young people, you're turning them away from gangs, you're turning them away from drugs, you're turning them away from certain issues or problems that they don't need to get into, and you're steering them in the right direction. So I commend people who take the time out to invest in young folks because they will come back and thank you and continue that cycle. So that's how I feel.
You know, one of my birthday parties a couple of years ago, um, I had a couple of students, former students, just couldn't wait to come to the birthday party, and um, that made me feel so valued,
Mm.
because I recognize that the work that I was doing and people like me were doing, was 100% not in vain, and
Yes.
and therefore, you have to. You might think that your work is not valued, but when they come back and show you the value, or kid who wins a Fulbright scholarship or get a full scholarship to an Ivy League, right? They're getting choosing now. The kid gets off the bus, and by the time the kid finishes the bus, he has already got accepted to a college where they didn't envision this. You
Right.
know that is just so important. Um, Moving on to a different topic, there are a couple of things happening now. One of them is, and I always mispronounce it. So Chris Lane Maxwell,
Oh,
uh,
Giselle. Giselle.
Giselle,
Mhm,
Gislaine.
mhm.
Okay, she's British. You got to forgive her with the name. She got convicted in 5 of the 6 counts. What do you think of that? Do you think that she should have been convicted?
I do.
Why?
Because here it is. Um, as an adult, you know what's right. You know what's wrong. Um, Steering young folks into prostitution, into luring them into people who have money for sexual favors. Again, prostitution. Um, they have no control over that. You're older. You should be an example, not to get a kicks or rock off or to set no. So I want to protect little girls from creatures like her. And just because it's a female doesn't mean that a female won't lead you astray.
You know what's interesting when you brought up that point? That was actually the point that I wanted to get at. If this was a man,
Mhm.
it would be horrifying.
Mhm.
But because it's a woman, people take pity. I don't understand why people believe it.
I don't take pity. No.
But no.
And I think the jury
And
will
I
not
also
pity on the fact too.
and I also believe that her sentence is going to be light.
I don't think so.
You
I
don't
don't
think so? I definitely think so. I
I
think
don't think so.
I think he's gonna have to.
Was charged for 5 out of the 6.
Yeah.
So you think they're gonna take pity?
Yeah.
Why?
Listen, in the world that I'm in, right? I've seen teachers get charged, males get charged with 5 times as much time as a woman for the same crime.
Well, typically you would think that the female wouldn't get charged on this case, right?
Yeah,
The
but I'm talking about her penalty. Like Jerry
committed suicide.
would have been life in prison.
The
Hers is-
perpetrator committed suicide.
Uh-huh.
She was also part of luring these young people into sex trafficking. So, who's to blame? Somebody got to take the fall.
No,
And
I
just-
agree.
And just because
I
you're
agree that
female,
somebody's gonna take the
doesn't
fall,
mean
but
that
I don't
you
think
get
that I don't think
free.
that she's gonna. How much time do you think she's gonna get?
I don't know. I hope she get the book.
But she's not. That's the problem. That's the unfair system that we're in, and that's why sometimes I always say to people, unfortunately or fortunate, I don't know how you want to look at it, but race and gender affect
Plays.
criminality greatly in America. You could give a man and a woman the exact murder, and the woman gets less time.
Now here's the interesting thing. There were some celebrities and some politicians and some other individuals who were part of this too.
Yeah, that name were mentioned: Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and a few others.
But they're not going to be charged for any
No,
of
they're
that.
not.
They're not going to get anything. They're not going to go. So she is the full person who will get the brunt of it. And they did something.
But again, I don't know.
Something wrong.
I don't know that she's a fault. The fault person. I
No.
feel that
He killed
the
himself.
fault person, not the fault, but or either one.
Right.
She did her crime.
Oh, she's guilty. She's guilty. In regards to when I say full person it was her and the guy. So he committed his suicide. So she will get sentenced. Period.
We know she will get sentenced because she's found guilty. My thing is, are they going to throw the book at her, or they're not? Right? Because again, like I say, the system is unfair to men.
You're right.
Men.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree. And also your race and your money status as well.
Right.
Your income, your financials also play a role in this. So very interesting.
First of all, I want to extend my condolences to Tanisha Walker Miller, who lost her grandfather. Was it grandfather? Yeah, her grandfather a couple of days ago, about 3 days ago. So our condolences goes out. That's Harold's wife.
And also to our colleague who lost his uncle.
Yes.
This week as well.
Yes.
to the Samson family.
Yes, and also to one of our guests who lost her aunt. Um, um, lost her aunt a couple weeks ago, and the funeral was yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The even coming to the end of this,
um,
it is
yeah,
bittersweet.
MTA services because they run out of work. Yes, it is.
What happened?
Right.
Repeat
Um,
what you said.
no, I was just saying. No, I was saying about the MTA.
Mhm.
How the commuters will face some challenges around this week because they're cutting back
It's everything that's cutting back. Everything.
on the trains. Right.
The trains,
Wait,
the
you have a
plane.
voice? Over 3,000 flights were canceled over the last from 40
Week.
years
Mm-hmm.
that I'm saying from 40 years ago. Over the
That's
weekend,
mm-hmm.
so many flights were canceled.
And guess what? Many flights are still being canceled. So hopefully on Monday, people who travel can get back to work because otherwise we're in trouble.
Right. That's true. That's true.
And if they have COVID, guess what? They can't travel either.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
So it's gonna be interesting
Right.
because numbers are going up, flights are being canceled, trains are being canceled, buses are being canceled. So it's gonna be very interesting starting
What
off
do
the new year.
what do you think? That there's going to be a push, and I think it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That they're going to do domestic flight COVID vaccine. Thoughts?
No thoughts.
I agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with it. I give it because you know what? First of all, I don't want to wear no mask. I kind of don't want to wear the mask on the plane, but I see the reason. But they're very adamant about wearing the mask on the plane, and there have been so many fights breaking out. The people who doesn't want to wear, who people who don't want to wear it versus people want to wear it. Take the test. Take the COVID test. You take this COVID test 24 hours before you get on the plane.
But just taking a COVID test 24 hours doesn't guarantee that you are COVID free.
I agree, but it brings you closer to COVID free. This is just crazy.
Yeah, because now, as you can see, many people take the COVID test today, and 2 days later they're positive, and they have no mask, right? Okay, so I agree
I,
with the mask mandates. Let's continue with the mask. Let's cover up, folks.
no, I'm not saying no to the mask mandate, but I'm saying yes to doing the COVID test to get on the plane.
Okay.
So you disagree with that, or you agree with that?
No. Listen, the safety is important. Safety is important. So taking a test is important. So
Right.
I have no quorums. I have no problem with that. Mandating testing before you get on the plane. But there's no guarantee that you'll be COVID free.
Well, that's true.
You know, so
But some level for me, it's like you're going to some level of normalcy. The more you do that.
so COVID testing and mask, is that what you're saying? Or just
Yes.
COVID testing with
COVID
no mask?
testing and more laxed on
No,
because
no.
more
Mm-mm.
lax on
No.
the
Mm-mm.
no.
Mm-mm. No lax, because the lax is what made us go backwards. So no, let's continue testing and keep your mask on.
All right. All right. You know, the what else is happening out there in the news? So we have a couple things that are big, right? We have the Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, signs a bill today addressing teacher shortages, right? So basically, the governor signed a bill today which addresses a substitute teacher shortage, right? And aims to keep in-person learning. So in order to do that, she said the bill will temporarily allow trusted staff members such as secretaries, paraprofessionals, and others.
Yes. I was reading something like that. Like, hey, I think it was they were saying that subs, of course, to be a sub, you need 60 college credits. Now it's just high school credits that you need in
Oh,
order
oh,
to. Yes, it was,
no, no, no. In order to be a sub, are you talking about New York State?
no, not New York State. I was reading another state who they just changed the law because they have a shortage of substitute. So instead of the 60 mandated college credits that's required for them to be a sub, they can just have high school diploma and that's it. So you're right. It is that easy for anyone to be in the classroom. Just throw. I'm reading the comment that we
If
have on the screen. Just throw a body in there to babysit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am free to be a sub if you're giving me cash. That's all. Just give me cash and I'll be your sub. No tax papers, no nothing. Right?
You hear that, government? You hear that, the government?
Because I don't want to.
We don't hear you. You don't want to.
I don't want to pay the IRS nothing.
Is that so?
Absolutely so.
Is that so?
Absolutely so.
This? Tomorrow. Oh my gosh, the year is almost done. One more day.
Yeah.
And we're transitioning.
Oh, yes, March the 31st. Yes.
Yes. So I am so grateful that even through this roller coaster of a ride of a year, we have made it through. Thank God so far. We have made it through.
Absolutely. Many of us are gonna. They're scaling back on the New Year's thing. You have to have your COVID test. You have to bring your vaccine card to go look at the ball drop at Times Square.
Okay. And also, well, if that's what they want, that's what they get. That's what they want, that's what they get. Yeah, but there's a teacher shortage everywhere. I want to go back to that. There's a teacher shortage everywhere. People decided that they are going to, hey, they rather be home. They don't want to take chances. So unfortunately, it leaves a major gap. So that's that. Let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts? I'm going to transition quickly about the Burlington Colt shooting.
What happened?
Oh, wait. Peace over money. So imagine a sub in the room just for money, a room full of kids to be groomed, and they are the kids of the future. What? Unfortunately, some of the laws and the changes that's being made right now is just to keep people in the classroom. That's
you talking about which one are you talking about? The Burlington, or are you talking about teacher shortage?
No, I was talking about Burlington, but then I noticed a comment. So imagine a sub by peace over pain. So imagine a sub in the room just for money.
Room for kids. So the problem is that parents like myself don't want the kids home.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want overcrowded classrooms because of COVID. And you definitely don't want the children home.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want the children home. You don't want overcrowded classroom because you're scared of COVID. What's the alternative? The remote learning process, virtual learning was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Parents have to go back to work because they have to feed their families. Okay? Whether you have one parent in the house or two, and it's worse if you only have one. We're talking about the minimum wage or income is between $15 to $20. What do? You can't have a elementary school kid being at home. Not even a middle school kid being at home by themselves and trust that they'll do work. My son is in his room right now. He's 9. All he does all day is play Roblox. I actually have to monitor what he's doing. So the question becomes, this is one thing to criticize, is another thing to ask, well, how do you remedy the problem? So and unfortunately is a conversation where it is I don't want to say less of two evils, right? I don't want to say that, but yeah, it's pretty close to being, what's the evil that you're going to accept, right?
Peace over pain wrote, that's fine, but if parents know more, would they really send their kids to school? Also,
Yes.
also, would you put your child in a different school or district if you know things are not working? It's not that easy in New York City.
But I don't know. And the reason why you're not going to put your kid, you're not going to put your kid in a different school. One, because you have to pay taxes, and when you in a different school zone, you pay taxes per school. So people know that if you live in Jersey or you live in Long Island and you want to put your kid in a different school, you will, you can pay taxes, you can go to jail.
You're breaking the law.
You're breaking the law. So no, people are not going to change. Will they move?
Yes.
That might be different, right? So if you move to a different location because of that, you might have a problem. The problem is, is it easy to move? So, it's again, the conversation is around, you damn if you do, damn if you don't. Right? No, even though you take roadblocks, the problem isn't the roadblocks. The problem is the ability to monitor. Right? If you have your work to do, even if you're home and you have your work to do, you still have to do your work. 2, if you're not home, you can't monitor that the kid was doing what they needed to do and completed their work. It's just not going to happen. And remember, when you're monitoring, when you're not home, is an after effect, not an immediate effect. So you become reactive, not proactive. Right? So even if the child is looking at a screen with a substitute teacher in present, that teacher's task is to govern, monitor, facilitate learning. It's not the most conducive way to do it, but the alternative is worse. In New York City, you have to have a bachelor's degree to be able to be a substitute. So you have to be qualified, right? A bachelor's degree, and you have to get a nomination letter. So you also have to have an interview process. I don't know about other states, but in New York City, no, you're not the most qualified teacher, because to be qualified teacher, you have to take some tests, you have to do this, you have to do that. But in New York City, you have to meet the minimum criterion of having a bachelor's degree. And then second, you have to have an interview, right? And 3, placement. You have to go through fingerprinting, you have to do all of these things. So it's not about the trusted individual. So
I want to before we come to an end or whatever, I do want to thank all of our listeners for joining us this year. We had some interesting topics that we touched. And also, we want to find out, what do you want to hear next year? What do you want to speak about? What do you want to learn? What would you like? Who would you like us to bring on? So your feedback is so important in letting us know what it is that you want. So one topic we do know that we will touch is relationship, because Mr. Daly started this conversation today, and we will talk about relationships. So going into
And by the way,
2020.
we're not just talking about adult relationship. We're talking about relationships overall, like adult to children. We started that with Dr. Ingrid Walker,
Yes.
appropriate relationships from children. Like one of my pet peeves when we
Last
talk
week.
about relationships, I hate when young kids call adults by their first name.
Me too. It's rude.
Right. And some parents call what there's add a Mr. or Miss to it. Right. You're because again, when we
Respect.
start making our kids think that we're in them our size, there's no separation.
That's true.
And
That's
then when you want to create separation when you didn't show boundaries to begin with.
true.
So,
Yes.
I think the relationship question. What else? What else is out there? Super Bowl is coming up. How many of you are doing boxes? I have boxes, Joanne.
No,
I'll
okay.
tell you.
I won last year.
Did you win? How
I
much did you
did.
win? I didn't.
I
You
don't
didn't share.
well,
You want a box? All right, that's awesome.
yeah.
What else? So
Countdown. What are you doing? Like for us, our New Year celebration. Our New Year, which tomorrow night is very important for the Haitian community. Soup Jumu begins. Soup Jumu, Soup Jumu, Soup Jumu into our New Year celebration.
they have what they call it, Old Year celebration. Old Year.
Oh, that's what you guys celebrate?
I don't. I celebrate. We celebrate New Year's Eve.
Well, yeah, we celebrate New Year's. New
There's,
Year's is
there's
our Soup
nothing. We
Jumu
don't.
celebration.
There's nothing.
Independence
Happen.
Day.
We go to church.
Mhm,
Go to church at
mhm.
night, and
We do
we go,
that too.
we go to church and bring in the New Year. I'm
Hmm.
gonna be home though.
Hmm?
I'm
We
gonna
do
be
that.
home.
A lot of churches, actually, believe it or not, are canceling in person, and they're doing remote. So I
Mm.
know that CCC originally was supposed to be in person, but as of yesterday, posted that they are all remote.
For
So
New Year.
yeah, a lot of churches are all like, hey, God bless you. We're going to go back remote. So and safety first. Safety first. With the numbers going up, with people relaxing and not being able to get tested, that's another, hey, you know what? They want to make sure that everybody is safe. And I agree.
Um. Okay. What else? My former student that was killed last week Monday night. Erd Pierre. They're doing a
Hmm.
little GoFundMe. I wish I'd asked the parents for the GoFundMe. So I'll put it up on my Facebook page when I got the information.
Hmm.
Right. And so the question around mental health, what should the police do? Right. They it was 10 bullets, 7 from one person, 3 from another. The audience out there, everybody believe that there should be a mental health registry, right? Especially with the police. But my question is, now that we say that, how many people? Because one of the issues in the Black community is that they don't believe that Black people have mental issues, right? So the question becomes, how many of us would actually, one, identify mental issues with our young people, and then two, right, two, register that young person, and three, walking over to the precinct to remind the precinct that this person has a mental issue. So when approached, he can be violent, he's not violent.
So you're saying to create a registry for that?
Yes.
Mm.
Like the police should know when you're addressing a person within the community, have like a picture or something out there so you don't shoot somebody who has mental issues,
Mm. Even if they have a knife.
even if they have a knife.
Okay. Okay. I don't disagree with that. And if the police are going to go out, they need to have someone who knows how to address or those who are not yet registered for mental health to get to approach them a certain way.
You know, even I mean, he was killed close to his house.
Yeah.
So had there been an issue, you know what? Let me call his mom. Let me call his cousin. Right.
But that's
One of
community policing.
yeah,
Yeah, and knowing who your people are.
yeah, you know. And I think a mental registry would have saved this boy's life.
And
Um,
also your village. You know how back in the days, how on the block, the talk of the town, you might have a Miss Judy sitting on the corner saying, "Oh yeah, boy, that little girl went down the block or whatever." They know everything that's happening. We lost that. We
that's
no
true.
longer have that. So
You
if
know,
we go back to some of those, community building that we used to have, maybe that might help as well.
what's his name there made me laugh. A different subject. So, oh, let me just go back. Once we get the once we get the GoFundMe for him,
Hmm.
I will try to get it up on my Facebook page. So if people want
They
um
could do that. They could support.
to support
So
him,
quickly
um,
to recap. So the January 6th, we're quickly approaching last year, coming upon a year on the January 6th insurgent. And some of the documents are being shielded. Why? I wonder why. I wonder why they don't want people to know what really happened. So that is interesting. Another important topic is a rapper, K Flock, charged in Harlem for slaying, for killing someone. So and
yeah,
now our
they, they,
president.
no, with this kid, they said that actually, this is actually the first time, and it's in Harlem, right? So someone called in and gave the
Oh,
tip, but they also want to say somebody else who did it, but it said that, and he's only 18 years old.
wow.
When he's 18 years old, Kevin Perez, on December 16th, he killed Oscar Hernandez,
Wow.
24, right
Ridiculous.
on Amsterdam Avenue. You know,
Ridiculous.
these young people hope he really didn't do it, but a lot of them are doing um, right.
Time for something. And quickly to recap, our former president is now for vaccine and boosters. I love his change of stance.
Oh,
Good luck with him.
he didn't change his stance. He pissed people off because he took the vaccine and he took the booster. He didn't change his stance.
And we're saying goodbye to
He's like,
our.
I'm gonna give the rhetoric.
It's okay. It's okay. And we're saying goodbye to our mayor. Adios, Mayor De Blasio. Thank you for the 8 years. Um, and life continues. And we want to thank our guests for coming on and sharing all those wonderful, insightful Judge Rasheed for sharing um what he is doing upstate New York. And we're gonna bring him down to on our side of town. And thank you for everyone who work alongside of him. Our villagers, we thank you for joining us, for supporting us, and we look forward to you in 2022.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Please do enjoy your New Year. God bless everybody. Remember, we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education. helping each one of us in realizing a dream at any point, at any age, starting from today. Success is not just spoken, it is done. God bless.
And thank you, our producers,
Yeah.
Andre and Sophia. Thank you so much for this year. We appreciate you. And Mr. Sampson, we know you're with us in spirit. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
Oh, tell us what you think of the new theme. I got somebody's message back. A couple of people responded back, so let's find out. All right, so let's hear what you. Yeah, I asked you guys to tell us your opinion, so let us know. God bless each and every one of you. Enjoy. Bye bye.
Be safe. Happy New Year. Bye bye.